Alright, now this should be the last and final entry on the 1998 E-Z-Go Workhorse 1200. I believe I'm done with her. Finally got it done, been a little while. Just kind of working on and off or waiting for parts or something to come in. But I think I am done with it now. Can't get her on the whole picture. There, got her back together, got everything done. I pressure washed, but there's a layer of dust from test driving it around. Went ahead and painted the front wheels. Got the side panels back on top of the pads there, well, foot pad or floorboard cover, whatever you want to call it. The seats on. I went ahead and got some of the hip restraints on each side. It makes it a whole lot nicer. You don't feel like you're going to slide off the sides when you're flying around. Went ahead and I did get a different set of tail lights and put them on the back panel there where the holes were at. First I had ordered some of the, I guess you could say, proper lights. They were kind of bezeled and they kind of curved around, kind of like on the, something like the front lights are on the Yamaha G16A, but they were tail lights and they were LEDs. And they would have gone there, but you know, somebody cut that out and put those aluminum mud flaps there onto it, so it wasn't going to work, so I had to send those back. I picked these up for, forget how much, maybe 17 bucks, maybe around $17 or so at Rural King, and they work pretty good. So, hell yeah. I also went ahead and built a tailgate for it, and it worked out pretty good. I didn't use steel, like I said I might, so I guess I went a little cheap. But all this wood here was what we already had in the garage, in the shop here. So I just built it out of that, made some brackets to have the pins go through to hold it on. And all this stuff I already had on hand, except for the two hinges down here. I had to actually buy those. So what's kind of neat about this is there's some tension. There's tension on it, so you have to actually kind of push in on it to pull the pin out. So I'm using my hip. Get the pin out. Now we'll hear the same thing, get that pin out. And she'll hinge on down, just like that. And these are the hinges I got. Of course, one side's painted. But if you want to take this back off, all you have to do is like a door and pull these pins out, and you can take the whole tailgate off and have it open like this again if you need it for that reason, for some reason. On the pieces here, this was scrap metal I had laying around. This piece here, I had to bend this to come across and be able to interface with that. So these are actually a set of nuts on each side. I welded together, welded onto here. And these nuts were actually on the old seat, which those brackets were connected to it with. So I kind of reused those, repurposed those. Kind of cut the shape out for everything to fit in. So you have to try to, there's a little tension here because the screws kind of stick out a little bit on the hinge there, so it makes it a little bit tighter. But because of that, all you really have to do is kind of push in on it. Everything lines back up, just like that. Took a little trial and error. That wasn't too bad. I like being able to reuse some stuff I already have on hand. Get that in there right. There we go. Right in. There we go. Not a whole lot of movement because of that tension on there. That's pretty neat. This is plywood. This is solid. Well, no, 1x4s. Yeah, kind of put together here. I kind of routed the edge around here a little bit, made it look a little better. And I used a black oil-based paint to cover all that up, and it blends in pretty good. My wife said, you know, if you look at it just right, it almost looks like it was meant to be there anyway. So that's not too bad. I straightened out I don't know if you remember in the last video of this, that was all twisted up. I took that off, fought with that a little bit, beat on it a little bit, got it straightened out, it looks better. And another thing, if you remember, I did have that kind of cover panel, but I didn't have one over here. And I actually made this whole deal here, cut that out of the plastic of a 25-inch CRT TV I used to have when I used to live over at my mom's house before I got married. So we brought that over here to kind of scrap, and my wife thought, well, maybe you could cut a piece out of this, and well, I think, okay. So I tried that. There you go. Everything fits up pretty good, goes up under here. It's held by 3 screws, kind of like just like that one over there. And it turned out pretty good because it's a thicker plastic than that one over there. I couldn't do those drop down pieces there that go up underneath the hip guards. So I just went ahead and cut them out. So I used a grinder with a cutoff wheel to make all the main cuts, a chisel, a few things like that, had to drill that out, kind of make that open because that sticks up higher than on the other side where you can't even see it. And used a die grinder with a sanding wheel on it and kind of smoothed out the edges and kind of beveled the edges a little bit. But that didn't turn out too bad. Let's see here. Yeah, since the bed's on now, I can show you what it looks like when it's actually tilted. So like you got here, you pull back on the latch, up she comes. That's the first setting. If you want to keep going and go all the way back to the last setting, that's as far as it tilts. So that opens up, that's the full open space there. And see how much it tilts. It's way more than 45 degrees. So when I finally started getting it ran around and driving, it was having issues where when you try to start out, it didn't want to run right. It kept cranking. The spark plugs would get wet with gas, and you couldn't get it to start. When it did start, sometimes it would be running on one cylinder. And I was like, well, obviously this isn't going to work. So I looked into it. I checked the pulse coil, and I found that was okay. And after a while, I just said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and replace the igniter, CDI, and the coil itself. Once I did that, this thing fired up and ran like crazy. Both cylinders flying just as good as they're supposed to, and all that stuff. And I was like, well, that's nice. There's the coil there. The coil on that side, you can see it better on the other side, and the igniter or CDI right there. Replace those, and it started running really good after that. So I ran that around. There's the new belt on it. I ran around for a while, and it kept getting better and better, and now it runs pretty good now. And so there was that. Recently I realized that the starter generator was not charging the battery. I was getting like under 12 volts on this while the engine was running here. and I kind of tested the starter generator, and it was putting out over 12 volts. We're like 13, 14, up near close to 15 volts or more. So I was like, well, that means that has to be at least charging, even if it's not perfectly charging, it's actually charging over a 12 volt amount. So maybe it's the voltage regulator. That little soda box right there. And now I am getting over 14 volts at the battery now, so that's working good. So that was like the last thing I had to fix. So that's pretty good. Because, well, I mean, if you ran around with the lights on it all night, or for a while, then the battery's going to be taxed more, not getting any new charge put into it. Running and driving, it wasn't that big of a deal, because it'd keep doing that, normally once you get the lights going. And then you run that around for a while, then the battery's going to be taxed more because you're pulling out for the lights too, not just the ignition system. But yeah, that's working out pretty good. What else? There's the new fuse panel. It's like what I was saying in the last video, that you had to run positive to it and then have that come out and go into the system. So I took another one of those green wires that was on that ignition that was sitting there, hooked it straight to the positive terminal, got that running down to here, and then that right there is ran over here, and that blue wire is the only thing hooked up right now anyway, and that was what runs to the lights and gets the lights working. So that part was solved too. Then I got that and everything's hooked up back here. You see the wiring there for the new tail lights. I have it rigged up for brake light and turn signal, but back here, but it's not hooked up like that up here yet because nobody's putting one in yet. So, let's see. I'll go ahead and turn the lights on and let you see what they look like. 1 second here. I'll put it right down, get rid of the light here. Whoops. Okay, that's good. Bang. Yeah, that seat, had to hold it up if you want to hold it up, so go right. It looks a lot better with all that going on. So I'll turn the lights on. Over there. There you go. So so the inner ones were the marker, kind of hard to see. The inner ones are the marker, the outside is going to be the turn signal, and then you got the headlights in the middle. That. And then you got the tail lights. Look pretty good. Yeah, there you go. So you got that hooked up. That's going and operating properly. I didn't do anything with the gear shift there. I just went and left it as is. If somebody else buys this and wants to do something with it, then they can do it. It functions, and it's kind of a pain to work on anymore since I've done all the rest of this stuff. So yeah, nice and fixed up, and the brakes. I don't know how. As far as golf carts go, I don't know how brakes are sometimes. So I left the same shoes in it, so it'll hold it in place and it'll slow it down. It may not, like, it's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to slam them on and stop on a dime like a car or something, but I think they're all right. I haven't had any issues with them. Just gotta push on them a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty much the fix. I calculated that the bed volume is about 12.5 cubic feet. So that's pretty neat. I mean, I got a couple of 7 cubic foot freezers that are not even that big, so it's about 39 by 46 by a foot. So it's about 12.49, about 12.5 cubic feet capacity. So that's cool. Overall length on this bugger is like at least from here all the way to the front of the bumper, about 115 inches. That's about 9'7" or something like that. So that's pretty long for a golf cart of any kind. Like I said, this is a longer version of one. It's got a longer, usually the rear tire is probably about right there and the back of it's about here, so it sticks on back farther. No canopy though, so that was going to be I don't know if that's going to be a problem for anybody, but it's nice open top kind of a deal, so that's neat. It can be, I mean, that's all right. I mean, you don't have to have a canopy. But I wouldn't want to keep this outside again because things are just going to rust on it and stuff. But yeah. So it's, yeah, she's pretty well done. So I'm going to end up putting this up on Marketplace and seeing who might want it. Can't even get it all the way into the shot. Anyway. So there you have it. We're done with the Workhorse. It should be a Workhorse now. Like I said, well, yeah, there's another thing I didn't put on was the governor is apparently seized on it, so I've just got a bypass. So whenever you start it up, you don't want to just jam on the gas as hard as you can. And you just ease into it till the belt grabs and it'll start pushing you forward and everything. So gets warmed up, there's no problem with it starting and stopping and anything. Oh yeah, I changed the oil, I changed the the oil filter, which is basically like a tubular screen. But yeah, I mean the new seat on this and everything, all this right here is brand new except for the brackets that attach the two pieces together. So that's pretty good. Yeah. Like I said, the Workhorse is done, and there shouldn't be any issue with this one. Runs, drives good. The point where I realized that the governor is probably seized up was you can't, like when I had the Yamaha G16A, when you had it off, you could literally push the gas pedal back and forth, and the whole thing operated fine. This one did not. It was getting the shot. This one didn't. It was just not even allowed to move much. And the only time it actually moved at all was when I disconnected. Like right now, since it is disconnected, I can, you can full throttle back and forth while it's setting off. It moves. And then every time I hooked it up, I couldn't get this thing to go anywhere hardly. Wouldn't even climb up a hill, but just crawl with the governor hooked up. So disconnecting the governor, you're getting more proper function, not exact perfect function, but proper function. If the governor is hooked up, you can't get anywhere. With the governor bypassed, flies around the yard just fine. So that's where we're at now. I just want to reiterate to anybody who would get something like this, just don't smash the gas pedal straight to the floor every time you get on it. Just push it to the point where it's going to start. Push it to the point where it's going to start. You'll feel it, it'll kick in, and then the belt will kick in. You'll feel it, you'll be going, throw you forward, and you get to the point you feel a power band where it's increasing in speed, velocity. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I got right now. Thought I'd do an update. Mostly we're going to update on the Workhorse because she's pretty well done now. And then we got the Moto 4, which is getting there. It's got some quirks to it being 38 years old, even with new parts. So that's how that goes. And I'll catch you next time. You'll catch me next time and all that good jazz, et cetera, and so on, and yada, yada, et cetera. Later.